Strong Dads wants to thank 4Speed on 50 for sponsoring today's show. If you like classic cars, great food, and a taste of Americana, you have to visit 4Speed on 50's Diner, located on Route 50 in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Stop in today for a meal and an experience you won't soon forget at 4Speed on 50's Diner. Welcome to Strong Dads. This is Merle Hutchinson alongside Carl Andre. Carl, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm actually really excited about this show, too.
Yeah?
I really am. I'm thinking about young men who are out there, starting their work career or maybe just have started in the last decade or so, how we might impact them.
Yeah.
I just really am excited about this.
Well, when you brought it up, it's not a new subject to me, and I don't ever talk about individual cases that I work with in my office. But one of my frustrations actually is, it's a frustration because I actually feel bad for them, but I also feel bad for us, are the drifting, purposeless young men.
Yeah.
And I see these guys 25, 26, 27, and they're unkept. They're still living at home. But what's happened is I see the depression.
Yeah. No.
But that's why they're coming to see me.
Right.
Right. And broken relationships. And I'm like, dude, and Carl, across the board, and I've talked about this before, I can pretty much share with you that their dad experience, not that they don't have a dad, and they could even have a dad kind of connected, but a dad never drove things, never drove them. Hey, son, here's some things we need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't have, fortunately for me, I'm not knocking my father, maybe they don't have somebody else that stepped into their life either.
Yeah.
Another man, which is there's a role that you may be able to supply to somebody, but another man who's kind of interceded in there and showed them the way or helped them along past a bump.
Yeah.
And what we're talking about, we're going to be talking about what it means to be a good worker, a good employee, and you think, well, how does that tie in? Well, if you don't have any sense of accomplishment and you're not really going anywhere in life, these things are what you're talking about set in. It's just this lost purposelessness and
the best thing to do is to do nothing if you don't know what to do, right?
Defeatist mentality kind of thing. Yeah. And I'll say something else. This is going to be contrary to what a lot of people are saying in the media today. People say that people just can't
What else is new out of you?
Yeah. But you can't get ahead. You can't do this, that, and the other. And the reality is, while the people who are saying that, there's others who are just running circles around it.
Yeah.
So you look at it and say, how is it that the Far Eastern Indian population in this country is per capita the most wealthiest? And people say, well, there's just not opportunity. People come to this country with no ability, some of them with no education, some with no money.
Right.
And they end up, so I'm a believer that what we're going to be talking about today is the doorway to freedom. In a lot of ways, and the things that you want in life, but so many people don't understand these things, and they've not been taught, or they've not seen a good example, or they have faulty thinking. Yeah. So if you're young, or reasonably young compared to us or me, this can change your life.
Yeah. Or if you're a dad raising some kids, not just boys, your kids, these are some things that hopefully you can think about, and start to implement ways to say, I want to make sure my kids get some of the things we're talking about.
It's going to call you up to a higher level too.
Yeah. All right, so before we get too much deeper in there, let's thank our sponsors. Let's thank Quality Auto Mart, Casey's Outdoor Solutions, and 4Speed on 50 Diner. We want to thank those guys for giving us the opportunity to support us and get these messages out and about. We also want to thank all you guys who take the time to view and listen to our show and continue to share them. So we greatly appreciate that. I think I was called out by, I'll just say Jason. Did you hear on my last show? He said, you thank your sponsors, but I haven't heard you thank God lately.
Oh.
And I said, you know what? As much as I want to defend myself, you're absolutely right. And so we just want to thank God.
Yeah.
We just want to thank God.
I thank God for every breath.
Yeah. I mean,
really.
well, and I so much of that, I'll just speak for me, is a little bit like the old meal prayer. Thank you for the food, let's eat. Versus think about what we have here. Think about this country. Think about the blessings, the people, the shoulders we stand on.
Yeah.
You know, all these people came before, and those shoulders that we stand on, in large part, came from people who stood on the shoulders of Christ.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
foundation.
Yeah, that foundation. And so for us to just be thankful and aware of that, I just think is something. For me personally, I need to do a better job on.
Well, and on that note, real quick, I just have always been remember Christopher Reeves. For those of you who are young, he was Superman, and fell off of a horse at a riding event and was a paraplegic. And they said, "What makes you angry? Do you ever get angry?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "When I see somebody rise from a chair and walk effortlessly across the room." While I struggle to move a finger.
Yeah.
You know, his whole goal was to just move a finger.
Yeah.
And I thought, my gosh, how much we take for granted, you know, until it's not there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, so let's get rolling. So, well, neither of us ever took an official class on how to be a good worker.
No.
Right?
School of Hard Knocks.
School of Hard Knocks.
That didn't work, so I won't do that again. So,
so I mean, as we were prepping a little bit for this, you know, I had to ask myself the question, because I think sometimes you can come off a little pompous or high and mighty. Well, like, I'm a good worker, so you should be more like me. And so I really had to ask myself the question, well, am I a good worker? Am I a good worker before I start pointing fingers? And I have to be real honest, and I have to tell you, like, there are times I'm a really solid worker. But I have found that if I'm not interested and a task still has to be done, but I'm not interested, I'm not the best worker. And I've been caught on that before. And I mean, I'll go back to my mom one time said, I need you to go cut the grass. And it's stuck in my mind. Here I am. I mean, I'm 6th, 7th grade, right?
And many years later.
And I wanted so bad. My buddies were getting ready to go play a ball game. And I wanted so bad to go play that ball game. But she's like, you got to cut the grass first. So I went out with that lawnmower. And Carl, I had that lawn cut in probably 3 minutes, right? And
most of it.
I parked that lawnmower back in the shed, and I go, and all of a sudden I'm halfway down the street, and I hear, "Bro, you get back here right now!" And she's like, "What is this?" And she just and I'm reminded of that, how if my head's not there, you don't get my best worker.
Yeah.
And so I'm guilty.
Yeah.
Like I can be there. And so which goes to say, like, the importance of work to you, right? Like, is this job that important to me? And if it's not, how the Colossians 3:23, I wanted to just mention this because it holds me accountable. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not human masters. And I'm guilty. That's not me.
Well, you know, on that note too, and I had that in my notes when we were talking about this, that's so important. If you're going to rise in a work environment, you need to really focus on that, because you're going to get into a sense of, well, it's not fair. You're working hard and there's other people who won't. I think the Pareto principle, which is bantered about quite a bit, is pretty accurate. 80% of the work is done by 20% of the people. So if you're working for, for the fairness in an organization and for everybody to pull their weight, you're going to be constantly in turmoil.
Yeah.
So if the Lord is your boss and you're working to glorify Him and to satisfy Him, that's going to take that away. My first rule, and Maria, our daughter, will tell you, is figure out who your boss is. It's not always so obvious, but it's usually the person that signs your check. But figure out who your boss is, make them happy, make them look good. And that's my number one rule. And that when I started working, that was the number one rule. And I've lived by that rule. The first boss, though, is God.
Yeah.
Figure out who, and make him happy, make him look good. You want to be an example for that. So, yeah.
Let me ask you, where did you develop that rule or that understanding? Was that taught to you, or was that something you just figured out?
I don't know. And I think one of the tragedies today, in my opinion, I've taught financial peace, and I bring that up a lot. I ask people, how many of you had a job when you were a kid? And the older generations, almost all of them had.
Right.
Most of the younger people that I have in there have did not have a job prior to getting out of school. And their parents didn't require it or anything. They didn't even have it. So I had a paper route when I was in 4th or 5th grade that I started and carried for a number of years. And then I sold used shoes. I mean, people laugh, and we really did sell used shoes. I learned more from those 2 things than I did in school.
Yeah.
About people, environment, sales. That's one of the things we might talk about. But my dad and I did not work well together. We were like oil and water.
Yeah.
So I didn't necessarily get it from him, but I did see that he was the guy that if there was overtime, he worked overtime and double shifts and things like that. Sometimes I thought he was hiding from issues in the family, but he grew up poor. You kind of mentioned that earlier in the conversation. So he had the wolves at the door for him most of his life. So I can't really answer the question. It just sort of, there was a metamorphosis of going along, and I think for me, most of it was my own sense of insecurity, my perfectionism that needed to be validated and was fearful. I don't know if that's, sometimes those things can work for you, and it did for me, but I think that was it more than anything.
I can connect to that. I think for me, it was approval from my dad because we did work together pretty well, especially when I was younger. In high school, you kind of have your days where you think you know more than him, but pretty much we worked pretty good and pretty well. And one of the things I think my dad taught me and my brothers was what I refer to, because in the exercise world, we refer to this all the time as work capacity.
Okay, yeah.
The ability to go in and to do work rather than to do an event or move A to B, but how long can you do that? How long can you sit at a job and do it? Like we used to split wood, right? And we had a huge lake growing up, 4 or 5 acres. And that thing had to be weed eated.
Oh, that's I've got pond line that we have to. Yeah. That's pain.
And when you start, you think, "Oh my gosh, this
I'll never get there."
Whose idea was it to build this lake? You know, but the idea was, you're not finished till you're finished, right? But we watched our dad do it.
Yeah.
And so really, it was like, if he's going to do it, there's no way in the world that I'm going to say, I'm tired, my hands hurt, like I'm just not going to do that. So it was seeking his approval, but always that capacity, stay in it all the way, work hard. He sweated a lot. I sweat a lot.
I sweat a lot.
Yeah, and I would look at him and I'm like, I want to sweat just like him. Well, thanks, Lord. I sweat.
Thank you. It's embarrassing at times.
Yeah.
So you have hair. I mean, for people who don't have hair, it runs off you need a windshield wiper.
Yeah, so I would say a lot of that came from my dad too, but it was just the work capacity. Stick in it, stay with it, stop your whining, just get your head down and go. Yeah. And me, probably more than my brothers, they I'm sure they wanted his approval, but I was a little bit more insecure. And if I could get my dad to give me a head nod, man, that was this job was not that big of a deal. Yeah.
You know, real quick, there was one example I remember when I was young. Dad bought an old crosscut saw, and when he was a boy, they actually logged and with teams of horses and things, and he got that old crosscut saw, and you think that antique thing. So we went out in the woods, and there was a great big tree down, and we got on each end of that, and man, I went like stink. You know, and in just about 5 minutes, I'm spit. You know, and he's, he talked about his father could go all day, and he said, you don't push, you pull on a double, on a two-handed, you pull.
Yeah.
So the other guy's pulling, and you got that pace. I learned right then you can flame out real quick.
Right.
If you're going to get a job done, you got to pace yourself.
Yeah.
There's a certain amount of that, and that was a lesson that stayed with me. It's like, if you were an 8-hour day guy, if that was what you're going to be paid for, you're done.
You better be good at knowing how to pull.
Yeah. Well, and you got to be able to do it all day long. Anybody can do it for 5 minutes. If you spend all your energy, now you're going to spend the rest of the day with just lackluster development or results. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
So that was a real lesson. It's like,
how about this? And I've only met your dad a handful of times, but he reminds me of a strong individual. My dad was tough.
Yeah.
Like tough.
Yeah.
And one of the things that reminds me of his toughness, I mentioned cutting wood and stuff like that. Whether we worked on cars, we did all kinds of things. But I swear he'd cut his finger, right, on whatever, something. He'd cut his finger. Yeah. And me and my brothers, we'd just see blood and he would not, as long as it would take him to get that handkerchief out of that rear pocket, knot it and tie it, and like we wouldn't even make a comment about it.
Yeah.
And that blood be dripping off of it. And me and my brothers, like, your appendage better be falling off before you say, Dad, I think
I'm hurt.
Yeah.
And Suck it up.
Yeah. But and I know, like, you could say, well, that's taking it to an extreme, but that idea that pain is kind of relative, outside of it being life-threatening, let's just keep going. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Which you'll be fine was the message he always gave us. We'll deal with that, but let's get the job done. And that was that toughness.
Yeah.
Did you get toughness like that from your dad?
To some degree. There was, and I'll say that I don't know about that particularly, but there were tricks that Dad knew, especially when I just remember baling hay.
Yeah.
And I reached in and grabbed a bale, and there was a hornet's nest in there. And they got me 3 times, the big green hornet thing looking things. And man, it was on fire, and Dad's just like, immediately he smoked Tareyton cigarettes, pulled out 3 cigarettes, crushed them up, put them in his hanky, had some water out there on the wagon, threw it in there and slapped it on my arm. And it took that out. And
took the sting out.
Yeah. A little poultice that he made. And then the expectation is, let's go. Man, I mean, that thing was inflamed, but then it moderated, and you think, well, this is time to go to the home, back home. I'm going to go nurse this. No, we took care of that, son. And I just, like, if a dad's not involved or a man's not involved to help a kid realize you will get through this, then you'll let your flesh just go, I have to be done. I have to tend to this versus persevering, driving through. Well, and I would say probably out of that comes that, and I've always said this, everything takes longer, costs more, and is more difficult than you first think.
Yeah.
So these kinds of things come up, whether it's a bee sting, whether it's a cut, whether it's a vendor who doesn't deliver, in a job that you're doing. You've got to go on. You've got to figure out how to get, because I always say, once you might complain, you might not want to do a job, if they're looking at something, we have this where but once you accept that and you've got a commitment to do it, you got to tee it up and then figure out how to get it done.
Yeah. And
those things are going to come up. The time for complaining or whining or saying or stating your case is over. The job is on the table, and you got to get it done.
Yeah. I did an entire show. I think it was my camper show on nothing's easy, nothing's cheap.
Nothing's easy,
nothing's cheap. And I learned that a long time ago. I've been using that phrase forever. I don't know if I coined it or not, but I certainly lived it. So I would be like, nothing's easy, nothing's cheap. As long as I go into every job I do with that idea, I'm not disappointed, right? Yeah. And hopefully I'm pleasantly surprised that, hey, this was a little easier or cheaper than I thought it was going to be. But most of the jobs, you just go, well, you watch the YouTube video, and you're like, well, it took him a minute and a half to do that, and you're there 3 hours later with your fingers laying on the ground.
Yeah, so, and that's the 50th time he may have done that.
Take one,
take 2, or whatever. But backing up, I think what's so interesting to me is how little it takes to be among the better performers in a job. And I say this because it's simple things like show up. I mean, this is a novel concept to a lot of people. And be consistent. Show up on time. If there's a time you're supposed to be there, be there. And I find we have, over the 26 years I've been where I'm at now, we have a very limited number of vendors we will deal with on the outside because overwhelmingly businesses would not deliver when we said we needed it. We never missed a date. That was one of the things. It didn't matter if we went in a hole big time.
Yeah.
Whatever effort it took, whatever money it took to get that job done, because we had told the client, we're going to deliver on this date.
Here's your date, yeah.
But the people that we would go outside, if there was an outside service that we needed or an outside process that we needed, it was terrible. How many people? And we would call up, hey, we're not going to have it.
Yeah.
It's like, so whether you're an employee or a business owner, doing what you say, but showing up,
Yeah.
delivering, being there, and being consistent. It's not as common as it should be.
No, Carl, I mean, you're hitting a chord with me, and that is, I grew up as a professional in the school world, and as all you ever hear in the school world is school needs to run more like business. And, okay, well, that's fine, whatever that means. To me, it always meant like get the job done on time, be prompt, money, budgets, all these things. And when I actually started in the fitness world and some of the equipment and stuff, I'm out now. I'm a business guy, and I'm out working with other businesses. I just have to be blunt. I was so disappointed in the business world.
Well,
I was so disappointed, and I continue to struggle. If a guy says, I'm this way. If you don't think you can get it done for 2 weeks, tell me that.
Tell
Just
me
say,
right
hey,
up front.
it'll be 2 weeks. If you say I can do it tomorrow, and it's 2 weeks, I'm losing my hair now, right? And so that whole idea of, now, why are they late? I don't know. Maybe they don't have employees that are getting the job done. I don't know. But that whole
Doesn't
idea,
matter.
they staked the job, right? Like I finally got the car in here. I got the project. But then you don't hear from them, or they don't produce, right?
Right.
And so that's a frustrating thing that I just think we see it across the board in business. Listen, I don't want a miracle. Just be honest with me.
Yeah.
Just give me what you say you can give me.
Which I didn't even put that down here. One of the great lessons I learned was from a man named Greg Hitt. He just passed last year. He was a 30-year in the military, and they have what they call ring recruiters. He was the top 3% recruiter in the world. So this guy was all Army. I mean, he was big, and he and I were doing some business when I was about 30 years old, and he had asked me to do something, and we were down at the Quality Inn in Kentucky, and I walked up, and he said, "Hey, did you get that?" And it wasn't anything big. It really wasn't that. It wasn't like life and death,
Right.
I said, "Oh, Greg, I didn't get to it. I had this, that, and the other, And he looked at me and he said, "Hey, pal, all excuses are equal. I don't care if your mom died or you just sat on the couch. The result's the same." And I thought in my life, how many times, and I've still done it. I won't say I've been innocent of it completely, even to this day, but I was aware. It's like there's so many times we think that this excuse. We said we're going to do it, but this excuse kind of, supersedes that or lets us off the hook, and it's just an excuse. I mean, that really, the end result is, and it really taught me. I mean, it hit me right upside the head.
You've used that phrase numerous times
all
with
excuses.
me, and now I've used it too, because I hear excuses, and I think just to be fair, I found myself throwing excuses, right? What things that they're dismissive in my mind, like. I said to Linda that I would go get something done, and here it's 2 months later, and I haven't done it yet. Well, I had my knee replaced. That's why I did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I had ingrown hair.
Yeah.
It was an epiphany. It really was how I had excused myself too many times in my life. So
yeah. So I know you have some things that you want to go through, but let's banter a little bit. Like,
Sure.
What are some things that you see that are getting in the way? Let's just talk about the worker, right? The worker, not just the business or whatever, but the worker that are getting in the way of these guys actually getting to what they're capable of, to really producing. Right. And so, there's something that came to my mind with this when I was creating this, and that is feelings are given way too much value these days. I don't feel like it.
Okay.
And I say that because I hear that in my own home, right? Like the grass needs to be cut or whatever. And I heard that come out of my son's mouth a couple of weeks ago, and he said, "I don't feel like doing that now."
Well, that's okay.
And I thought I was going to lose my mind, because I'm thinking, when do feelings get to determine whether a task gets done or not? And so that connected me to what you said earlier, the challenge that we see about guys just showing up. Just showing up. And if you could they all have an excuse, but if you could actually get to the nitty-gritty of it, it would be, I just didn't feel like it. I just didn't feel like it.
I think I might have texted you this. and I may be wrong here. And I draw a parallel to financial peace. I think most people want to have wealth, but they don't believe that they can do it, one. And two, they don't have a path. I think if a person has a clear path or senses there's a clear path, that takes a lot of it out. There's some people who are just lazy. But I think most people just don't think that what they're going to do, or they don't know how to do what they need to do to get to success or to be a top performer. So when the people say they don't feel like it, I think a lot of times, in my opinion, is that they just don't know how. They look at this thing and they go, they got an idea, and I say it, the corporations are evil corporations, or bosses are just greedy, or owners are just greedy, and you can't get ahead in life, like I talked about earlier, or what difference is it going to make, kind of thing. And they look around at other people, and unfortunately, just like with money, people look around at what other people are doing, and most people are broke.
Right.
And most people are mediocre in the workplace. That's just so. When somebody says they don't feel like it, I think that they lack the motivation because they don't have faith, and they don't believe that it's going to make a difference. That's my opinion.
Faith, or maybe can I attach onto that, or a vision of a pathway to get there.
Yeah, that's the same thing.
Yeah.
I think if you know that you can walk from here to the corner of that room,
right,
and you know that it just takes so many steps, then that's a doable thing. But if you don't know where the corner of the room is, or even how to walk, that's a different, that throws it in.
I don't know if I even want to try to figure this out.
I don't feel like it
lose
because,
the motivation.
I just don't. I think if you, and that's a lot of what, at least for me, what I learned, it took a lot of faith. It just took a belief that this was going to make a difference. And you talked about earlier when you don't feel like it. And we were just upstairs a while ago talking about your refrigerator doing stainless. Yeah. In our environment, nobody wanted to work with stainless. So when GE came a knocking, when we needed to do these stoves for them, I always look for those areas, and this is not easy. I'm not going to say it was tough, but I always wanted to create an ability in me to be a go-to person. So when nobody wanted to do it, it's tenacious, it's tough, and you can't mess up. It's nerve-wracking. It's all those things. And I'm not trying to make myself sound like a saint, but I guess because of my own insecurities and things like that, I saw that as an opportunity to say, if you get good at that, that's another feather in your cap. Right. And it gave our company the ability to do those prototypes. And
set yourself apart at that point.
I just always look for the opportunities. I think in any job, and I will say, I always believe you got to play to your strengths. Yeah. Like I would never see an opportunity in paperwork and go do that because I am terrible at paperwork. But when it came to mechanical things of this nature, that I had enough faith in myself from the time I was a boy. I was always taking my toys apart and everything. So I look for opportunities like that, especially where most people run away. I tried to run in. Yeah. And it's nerve-wracking. It will cause you to lose sleep because if anybody could do it, anybody would do it.
Right.
I don't know if that's how a lot of what I did as far as how I was able to rise in different occasions probably happened, was looking for those opportunities. So feelings get in the way because you're feeling your gut feeling in that respect, man, this is hard. I don't really need this. Nobody else is doing it. But that's one of the tricks for me. I don't know if that works for anybody else.
Yeah, the idea that you helping, as we talk to these guys, helping them start to see some of what their gifts are. It's hard when you're young to know exactly, like, if I have an aptitude that's a little bit better than the guy I'm next to, right? Like, well, we all just went to school or we all just had these experiences. But then when you start to dabble, you go, I seem to figure that out a little bit better than this guy did, right? And you find a niche.
If you're paying attention.
Yeah, and so it's really important that you start to observe where you might excel a little bit. And also, like, I'm right with you, man. You and I should not be writing papers together, right? Like, the paperwork is, and I drive my wife, Linda, crazy with that because I could help with some paperwork, but I will stare at paperwork for hours. When I'll go out and build things, break things, do everything. And she's like, have you touched that? I'm like, nope.
Do everything else but that.
Yeah, I will avoid it, procrastinate it. But finding that little niche where you go, At least a little better than average on that one, and then start to dwell and test it and see what you can do. And I really like that you bring that up, because I think that's how you discover a little bit about yourself.
And the sooner you do that, I think we talked about on an earlier show. I don't remember what the topic was, but I'm a big believer. We took Maria down up to Johnson O'Connor, which is the human engineering lab. I think if you're young, especially if you're under 40, and you haven't done that, if you don't know what your gifts are, you probably should go there.
Yeah.
Johnson O'Connor's in Chicago, Atlanta. They're an old company. They test you for your attributes and your natural abilities. You should be working in those areas. And like you said, if there's something that you do, and time just flies, it's called flow. That's something you want to pay attention to. It's important, I think, to be in an area at least foundationally that is playing to your gifts. And then, like I said a while ago, that book that I read, Soar with Your Strengths, talked about run your strengths long and manage your weaknesses. For so long in my life early on, I was focused on my weaknesses and beating myself up. The gold in your life, as far as what you can run long and where you'll get the biggest reward, is by focusing on your strengths. Not your weaknesses.
That's good stuff right there, guys. That's a nugget of info that you got to hang on to. So
so you said what's holding guys back, though. I think I'm not sure exactly how you meant that question, but one of the things I had down here is, this sounds so simple, obvious. There's no committee meeting anywhere to make your life better.
Yep. There isn't?
No, there isn't. And I'll just give you a quick example. And I don't know if I've ever told you this, but when I went to work where I am now, I had been out of the business for 5 years. And in that time period, CNC technology was coming on, and software connected to that, which is where you've got a fake world you're working in the computer. That was coming online. And the company had just gotten into that, and they had one guy who brought that in, and he knew one aspect of the software, and he trained 2 others. So I start working there. There's about 15 people, and there's usually a pecking order. And that pecking order, think, well, and I could see that you could either be out here sanding parts and painting parts and gluing parts together, or you could be designing and engineering, which is always my strength anyways. I mean, as far as how mechanically things worked and being able to put that together. But you needed that software. So I went, did I ever tell you this? I went to the owner, and I said, can I have a computer at night? And he said, sure. So I went online, I found this $60 tutorial. And I went in there and I sat down at night on my own time, and I started working through that tutorial. And I was always a book learner. That's one of my strengths. So I'm working through the tutorial, and then I start going into the few guys that were running the software. And I said, well, what about this module here? Do you know anything about that? No, we know, and this won't make any sense. We know parallel. So they did everything with a parallel routine. And I said, well, there's this and this and this and this. So what happened was I was able to bring more of these, I opened this up, and then I started, can I get some time with one of the 3-axis machines? And so that $60 tutorial in the next 2 years equaled $20,000 in pay.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, one of the guys there asked me, he'd watching this, I stepped across in front of all the people who had much longer terms there.
Yeah.
And he said, how did you do that? Now, I wasn't hiding anything. I was just staying after, but nobody stayed after generally.
Yeah.
And I said, well, Jerry, I bought this little $60 tutorial. And he said, this is where I went, man. He said, well, the company should supply that. And I said, in my mind, I thought, just sit right there and wait.
Yeah.
I believe there are opportunities in every environment. I'm just a believer in that there are opportunities in every environment. But there's no committee that's meeting to make your life better.
Yeah.
I've learned you have to ask, you have to move, you have to take the initiative for raises, for opportunities and things like that. So,
what a great point that is. The idea that you dig in a little deeper on your own, You know, it's great if you do get compensated, but your compensation was on the backside, right, versus the front side. So that brings me to another one of the problems that I've seen come out is, you know, I was always taught that if you're getting paid $5 an hour, work like you're worth 20 or 6 or whatever. Work like a dog, so that your boss or whatever, or when you go to ask, they go, wow. You know, and you create the desire for them to you, right? They want you now, versus something that we see on a regular basis. And I'm not sure whether unions got behind this or whatever, but that idea of I'm not working like $20 an hour until they pay me $20 an hour. And what a curse that is on your growth. I mean, you just completely put the lid on yourself. Nope. I won't do anything more.
Yeah.
So the creativity, the ambition, all that, you just put your own lid on yourself.
Yeah.
What a shame.
Well, you should always deliver more than you're being paid for. I believe in doing more than what you're being paid for. And if you're not working when you're being paid, you're stealing.
Right.
And you should work as best as you can to fix that in that side of it. But I'll say this, one of the things that I'm a very big so a lot of the business owners may not like this. I learned at a very early age, you will probably never be paid what you're worth unless you ask for it. Yep. And it was appalling to me. I won't go into the whole stories, but it was shocking to me how stupid I had been early on when I was 18, 20 years old. Even at that point, what my value was compared to what I was being paid. Now, I want to make it clear. Corporations in general, I don't believe anybody's evil. You look at it and say you're reporting to a boss in a company. Mm-hmm. He's trying to look good too. He's trying to do his part to keep his bottom line down. And if you're willing to work for that, that's what you'll get. And,
right.
and I'm not.
And it's not because he's mean.
He's
right?
not. He's not mean. He just looks at it and say, "Well, look, my budget for my department was this, and I got the job done. So he wants to look good, and he wants to do his part." And man, I learned in 2 jumps. I was like,
why didn't I ask earlier?
What an idiot I was, you know? And so many people think, now I want to make it clear. There are a lot of big-headed people out there who think they're worth more than they are.
Yeah.
You got to be, you'll know if you're a deliverer, if you're what I call a stud.
Yeah.
You'll get inklings of it. But I also say, this is convoluted. I do not believe you deserve a raise just because you breathe another year.
Yeah.
Cost of living is one thing, but you better be bringing, when you go in to ask for the raise, you got to be able to articulate why you are now worth more than you were before.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a key. You got to bring more to the table. But I would say that a lot of people can better themselves just by asking for a raise. If you're a stud, they're not going to let you go anywhere.
Yeah.
That's just, unless you're just an arrogant, well, whatever. But,
yeah. Well, you bring up the idea that I think we have to make our young guys more aware of. Show me the fruit that you're producing.
Right.
You know, we have to produce fruit. So if I'm going to go in there, you got to produce the fruit first, and you've got to be able to show the fruit that is being produced. And so the idea of saying, well, I think I'm worth more, well, show me that you're worth more, right? Talk is super, super cheap. And so that idea that you can say, well, I'm bringing X number of dollars more into the company, or look at the factory over there, how it's running, like whatever it is, but you've got to get into fruit building. And I used to drive my son Zach crazy with this but what's funny is how he's brought it back around to me. I'd say, Zach, did you get that done? No, well, blah, blah, blah. He'd come up with these excuses. And I'd say, well, Zach, I can tell that you're not getting it done because I don't see any fruit. And
something obvious.
Yeah. and so I'm talking, he's 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old. He's young. And I don't think that fruit thing ever, what do you mean fruit? When he gets into his high school years, and he would start, wanting something or whatever. And I said, you got to start showing me some fruit, man. You got to show me some fruit. And he still would just kind of shake his head. And I'd say he was in the military at this point. And he came back and he's like, Dad, I can't tell you how often now I say to myself, am I producing the fruit? Oh. Am I producing the fruit so that I can say, the harvest is good now. We've done something. So
Yeah.
I think we have to get guys to realize it's not about production and numbers always, but if you can't produce a fruit, then how can you have any confidence that you can add to your life or anybody else's life?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that goes back to what you said. Some people say, I want to be paid for 20, even though I'm not doing $20 an hour work.
Right.
Or I'll start working like $20 an hour work or whatever it is. When, that's not your destiny, if you will, and I think God lays it on your heart. I hope God lays it on your heart, is to be a stud. You should deliver. You should work as unto the Lord, and that means being a producer, producing fruit, and being a person. I think it's important to become a person that's the go-to person. That comes with stress. And I heard a long time ago, it's the pressure that pushes you to the top.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's where you become refined. That's where you learn these new tricks. If you just want to sit there and not do anything else, then expect that's pretty much your lot in life right there.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's it.
And if that's where you want to be,
that's fine.
Yeah.
But if you aspire more, if you've got children, you want a better lifestyle for them, if you want to send them to college, and those are the things that go along with it, be ready. You got to take on a little bit more. You've got to push yourself and deliver more. And I'm just a believer. There's an old saying: time either promotes or exposes you. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much how it works.
I embarrassed my son once. We just
once?
This one time. We had just finished a swim meet, and we went to I don't know, some fast food chain. Okay, I don't even know which one it was. And now they only usually have like one person out there because they have all these kiosks and stuff. But they have this one guy there. And I'm not real big on the kiosk. I just go right to the person, right? Because I can get some good interaction.
Right.
And here I am sitting there, and I'm thinking about what I want. And so then I walk up, and he's not even looking at me. He's not, and he's got 2 AirPods in.
Oh.
Okay? He's got 2. And so I'm like, well, maybe he's mic'd up to somebody. Like maybe he's running the fast or the drive-through or something, And he's not really even looking at me. And I'm like, hey, can I give you my order? And he just kind of hanging out. And I'm like, hey, can I give you my order?
And you're like,
yeah. and so finally he comes over and he takes one out. All right. And so I start giving my order. And then he's like half engaged with me. And I said, does your boss know that you wear those? Yeah, he doesn't care. And I said, well, you need to take him out because you're not doing your job. Well, my son's over here just embarrassed as all can be. He wants to crawl in a hole. And so anyway, we finally get our food. Fast food, they've put a whole new definition on fast food these days. But we get in the car and he says, why did you embarrass him like that? You embarrassed me too. I said, Nick, I don't know whether it's right or not, but that needs to be called out.
Yeah.
That needs to be called out. I don't know whether his boss agrees with that, but he's stealing from the company. He's stealing from the company. His customers are his ultimate boss, right, that he's serving. And it just blew my son away that I would call that person out. And I don't know what you think about that, but it's just like, why wouldn't a boss not call that out?
So many of these fast food joints are they hold on to anybody they can get because it's hard to find people to work. And that's a shame. But one thing on that note, I would say I'm a big advocate, and Linda will tell you, my wife. Whenever I get great service, I go way out of my way. I believe that people who are doing great work, I want to do my part to help them advance their lot in life. So I always seek out the management whenever I get great service.
Good idea. Yeah.
And I just think that's part of what happens when people, like when I talk in financial peace, when you make a decision that you're going to change your life, forces move to help you with that, what seems insurmountable. I think when somebody's doing a great job, I want to be a part of that force that helps move them into a better lot in life by making sure that they're noticed and that the people are bringing it to their attention.
Yeah. So. And I like to use the tip for that. I love over tipping when you just get fantastic, great service, a personality, somebody who's really engaged and they feel like they care. You feel like they care about you. But on the other hand, like if you just are not serving, I have no problem with minimizing that tip.
No tip.
Yeah, if at all. And, it's like, because that's what that was about, the tip. above and beyond.
Exceptional service.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So,
And we tip, but the problem with the tip is it goes in the pocket. We will tip, and then I will seek out the manager. And I'll tell you, I just did this at Cracker Barrel not too long ago. And the managers are almost always, they don't want to come out, Right. And at first I'll say, can I speak to the manager? And when I say this, and it's good. And I always say it's good because they'll come out a lot faster if you say, and it's good, because all they hear are the complaints.
Oh, Lord, yeah.
So you can be happy 99% of the time, but the one time, then you're in there, talking in the air, which brings me to one of the other things here is don't complain. In the workforce. We talked about this earlier. Don't complain in general. I mean, if it's a job that you've taken on, all the complaining in the world is not going to make it go away.
Right.
But the other thing is don't complain and don't come to me. I used to have people that work for me when I was working at Cincinnati Microwave, and I had a rule. Don't come complaining about something unless you have a solution. And and I talked about this earlier.
Yeah.
If there's a better way to do it, I'd be doing it. That's how I always look at it. But don't be a complainer and don't be a whiner and don't be in there being petty with your boss, about all the coworkers doing this and that and the other. Remember the rule, make them happy, make them look good. The part of making them happy is not being in their office because somebody else is doing something petty.
Yeah.
And if you're not a good worker that way, you're going to have problems.
Yeah. Well, that's that high maintenance worker that they think they're doing something well for the company by bringing those complaints. Like, well, I'm doing this because we want it to be better.
Look how smart I am.
Yeah.
Well, if you're that smart, what's the solution?
Yeah. That problem, we've all recognized that problem for many years. That's why it's still a problem, and that idea of offering solutions. That's just a great point. That's kind of a rule that we have around here as well. Like, you don't get to complain. I'm not even asking you to have the right solution, right? Because a lot of them aren't. We don't even know. But bring something to the table that you put some thought into this, that you're willing to look outside the box. Because maybe there's not a good, quick, easy solution to it. But don't just throw it at me as I have to be the problem solver.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right, man, Carl, we have gone through a lot of different things, and one of the things that I try to be very conscious of is on let's just say a 30-minute show, you get 10 minutes to complain, and you got 20 minutes to solve problems and get to something that makes me better, right?
Give the headache and then a solution. Right?
Yeah. And so we because this is a big topic, we probably spent a little bit more. We've done a little bit of both complaining and offering some solutions, but we're going to wrap this as part one.
Okay.
And then let's come back on. And let's give, how can we absolutely help our guys to improve their lot in life, to really give themselves that opportunity?
Yeah, and we've given you some great nuggets, but this is, like I said at the beginning of the show, I'm really excited about this. And there's so much more that I feel confident in sharing.
Yeah.
At least it's worked for me. I'm not saying they work for everybody, but how you can truly improve your lot in life. I think that most of the people want to know, like I said, either how to do that. I think we can show them, especially you young guys. This is a big statement. If you take what we've said here so far and implement this, ingrain it into your philosophy, your personality, and then especially what we're going to talk about this next show, it'll change your life.
Yeah.
It'll change your whole trajectory, what the legacy is. And this is a big statement for your kids, with your family, and ultimately your destiny. I'm convinced of that.
All right. So if you feel like you just got teased into watching part two, you did. So you got to tune in, part two. In the meantime, let's close this out. We want to thank our sponsors. We want to thank 4Speed on 50 Diner, Casey's Outdoor Solutions, and Quality Auto Mart. We want to thank those guys. We also continue to want to thank you guys in any way. And, just in general, like if you are kind of feeling yourself stumbling around and looking for some direction, feel free to reach out to Rock Solid Families. You can check out our website at rocksolidfamilies.org or give our office a call at 812-576-7625. If we don't know how to help you, or if we don't think we can help you in office, we have places that we would definitely help direct you. There's just so many ways that we can get people that are interested in doing better for themselves. So feel free to reach out. Carl, I'll see you in part two.
Part two. And I hope to see you too.
Yeah. Strong Dads wants to thank Quality Auto Mart and Service for being a proud sponsor of the Strong Dads podcast. Started in 1985 and going strong for all these years. Recently, Quality Auto Mart has transitioned from owners of Mark and Nancy Repke to longtime employee Fred and Lorene Venus. For all your automotive needs and golf cart needs, check out Quality Auto Mart, located across from Indian Lakes on Highway 46 outside of Batesville, Indiana. Casey's is a premier garden center and gift shop located in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Casey's offers a wide selection of plants, landscaping materials, home and garden decor, and gifts for every occasion. Casey's is committed to providing exceptional service, a unique shopping experience, and value to every customer. Stop in and see what makes Casey's so unique. Located at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana, or call 812-537-3800. Let Casey's help you add beauty to your home.